I am Zoe Vexed. I saw this trending on Twitter, and I was like, what the hell is like this guy apparently compared trans people to all being Satanists. Now, I'm like, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being a Satanist if I do say so myself as a trans woman that might flirt with the devil a little bit. But let's see what this guy has to say about this because he's pretty incoherent. I like really.
We're going to start with the fire that I started last night, actually, on Tucker Carlson's program.
He's like, for the first time in my life, people know who I am. They're actually like, I'm trending on Twitter for once for being a giant fucking dickhead. Let's see if I can milk this for as many views as I can. Well, you know what? I'm right there with you, sweetie. Let's milk this for as many views as we can.
I went on Tucker's show to talk about the column and the monologue I did yesterday about Bill Maher and about the left's addiction to Donald Trump. And I made a passing comment, not a passing comment, it was a very direct comment, but it was one, and I said it on the show like, man, this is hard to unpack.
Man, this guy's such a fucking narcissist. He's like, well, I mean, like he's all smug. Well, I mean, I said this. Well, I didn't mean to. Hold on. Let me try to like make this cooler. Well, I knew what I said, and I meant to say it exactly how I said it. It's like, why are you so like limp dick about this? Right after you're like, I was on there talking about the left's obsession with Trump. Just be like, no, I went out there and I said these people are fucking idiots. They're all fucking crazy, but you can't do that. Do you know why? Because you're a sniveling fucking weasel. And after you say something that is like remotely incendiary, you gotta like walk that fucking shit back. Well, I'm not doing that shit. If I'm gonna say something offensive, I'm gonna fucking stick by it, fucking burn all those bridges down.
In a brief television interview. And so, you know what? I said I would unpack it here. I made the comment that, a lot of what the left supports is satanic. And I'm going to double down on that right here today. A lot of what the left supports is satanic.
Everything is satanic. Everything the left supports is satanic. If it's on the left, it's satanic. All right, give us your best shot. What do you got?
That Monday evening on Tucker Carlson's Fox News program. Some people loved the comment. Some people hated it. Others were confused. Tucker got it. He agreed with me.
Yeah, you're like, Tucker got it. He agreed with me. It's like that you're like appealing to like a white nationalist sympathizer, like an outright racist. I mean, he was just over in fucking Hungary, not even like a couple weeks ago, like talking about how America fucking sucks, and it's just total like shithead. Like the fact that you would say like Tucker agree with me and sit back like oh yeah, like you just said something like that was like impressive. The fact that Tucker agrees with you like means that you're even more of a shithead than like I initially would have thought you were for making this take.
It's difficult to unpack such a provocative and complex thought inside a short television segment. Let me unpack it here.
I said that the left is all satanic, and those trans people are satanic too. It took, it's such a complex thought. Yeah. All right, go ahead, struggle through it.
I got all the time in the world. Let's start here. Abortion. It's satanic. The left views abortion as a central right in its political platform.
All right, why does he keep saying like platform? Like, why do you keep saying it like that? Like, I understand that I grew up in the South, all right? I have an accent and I don't always like enunciate things like perfectly. But you're like a syndicate, like you have a podcast, like you talk for a living. I'm like making fucking YouTube videos. Are you serious right now? Like, why are you struggling through this stuff? And it kind of like weakens the strong man kind of persona that you're trying to put on, where you're like, yeah, I said this, and what about it? I'm gonna like lay it to you. It's like, dude, you sound like you're struggling through to like get like your fucking thoughts out of your head. And abortion is like the worst fucking way to go. We'll get to that in a second. I want to see what your big brain take is on abortion.
I'm uncomfortable supporting abortion as a right.
Why?
I believe God objects to abortion.
How? Really?
I don't think the government should be helping finance abortion. I don't think there should be Planned Parenthoods in every community. particularly the black community. But before I move on, let me add a bit of context and some transparency.
Sure.
15 years ago, after
All
a
right.
night of drinking, I engaged in unprotected sex with a friend.
I mean, a night of drinking and engaging in unprotected sex. That sounds like the story of my life.
She became pregnant. She never informed.
Oh, no, don't worry. Don't worry. I actually, I did not get pregnant. It's all right. We tried really hard, but for some reason, I just wasn't able to get pregnant.
She moved back to her hometown and had an abortion. She told me a year later what had happened. At the time, I felt a mixture of sadness and relief.
Because you're
I did not want to
scumbag.
have a child outside of marriage. I had no interest in marrying the woman I impregnated. At the time, I was quite promiscuous. I share all of this because I want you to fully grasp my point of view.
All right, hold on for a second. So in the Bible, you're saying like this is satanic and it's against God and God doesn't like abortion, everything else. It's like, all right, so in the Bible, in Numbers, there's the basically the ordeal of the bitter water, where if a husband suspects his wife of like being cheating and she's pregnant, he can take her like before the elders or whatever to before the priest. And if he tells the priest that she is pregnant and I do not believe that that child is mine, the priest can get some olive oil, some other ingredients, and boil them into a like bitter drink. He will say say a little ritual and write down on a piece of paper a curse, and the woman will say will follow the commands and then say amen. She drinks the water that the priest administers, and the Bible clearly states that if she is unfaithful, the bitter water will cause her stomach to swell, and then she will lose the child. I don't know how you can be like any more explicit right there, and it's perfectly condoned. And then if she was faithful, then the bitter drink will not harm her body or her child at all. That's abortion in the Bible, administered by a priest, perfectly ordained by your belief in God, right? So don't fucking sit here and try and like lecture me that the Bible doesn't fucking allow for abortion and that the left clearly is like satanic because they allow Planned Parenthood to exist. I can't believe like you have benefited in your own fucking life of somebody that you had hooked up with that wasn't ready to have a baby, making the decision that she decided to get an abortion. That was her fucking choice. You have no right to tell anyone that is pregnant that they must remain pregnant. You don't have that right. And it's fucking disgusting that you would try and like wrap this up in some kind of like pious cloak when the Bible itself disagrees with you.
I, like you, I'm a sinner. I have no interest in redefining
I'm not a sinner. Don't fucking call me a sinner.
my sins as virtues or sound pragmatic decision making. Sex outside of marriage is sinful and therefore rooted in Satanism.
How not all right. This is so funny. Not everything that you disagree with that you think of as sinful would necessarily be satanic. Like, I would assume that there are specific parameters for things that would be like that would qualify as satanic. Even talking to like the most devout priests and everything else, it's not like everything that you dislike or every single thing that causes sin is satanic. Like sin, biblically, right? I don't know if you believe this. Maybe you're narcissistic enough that you just like create your own definitions here. But isn't that supposed to fucking be a violation of God's law? You're going like against God's will or whatever. That's sinful. That's not necessarily in and of itself as satanic. But you never define what satanic is. Like you never define Satanism. So I can't say through your worldview whether that does or does not qualify. It's just very convenient that every behavior that you don't like and every social norm that you disagree with just so happens to be satanic.
Every time I've done it, it's been wrong and satanic. My problem with the left is its aspiration to redefine every form of sin as a natural desire we should not tame. Do without.
I mean, that is like literally a hallmark of Christianity, is to take every single thing that we like, every single desire that we would have for pleasure, any type of pursuit, and you'll say that, oh, well, that's envy or that's gluttony or whatever else. Like, if you're not perfectly chaste, if you basically, like, you know, don't masturbate, like the Christian ideal biblically for living like a righteous life is a life of fucking misery and poverty and absurdity. Modern Christians don't follow that shit. Like, you don't follow that shit. You have a podcast, you're sitting there in a suit, like clearly you're here to try to make money. You are motivated doing this job by, I would argue, by greed. At least some of it. You want to have the pleasure of having that money. You want the pleasure of being able to provide resources for your family instead of just going like selling your belongings, giving them to the poor, or then just going and living in some monastery somewhere and living a sexless, devout life. You could do that, but you will not do that. And you're going to sit here and you're going to say that, you know, you're going to judge other people's failings or as you see them failings, which is like just such a fucking bizarre standard to sit at. Like, the hypocrisy is astounding.
Thou wilt is the unstated overarching theme of progressive politics. Do what thou wilt is the primary tenet of the Thelema, a cult established by English writer Aleister Crowley.
How dare you have free will? You're not supposed to exercise that fucking free will. You are only given it so you can obey exactly what you were told and do exactly as you're told. You can only live your life exactly how we tell you, when we tell you. And like, you have nothing you're allowed to do is outside of what we're going to tell you to. That's conservatism. That's the party of liberty, is the party of do what the fuck we tell you to. Otherwise, you're like satanic.
A Satanist. Do what thou wilt means to seek out and follow your true path and will. Let me translate that for you. If you were born a biological man but feel like a woman, go for it. Seek out your true destiny.
Thank you. I will, and I've been never happier since. I absolutely despised the idea of, oh well, you were born with a set of genitals, so that is like your gender. That makes no sense at all. Sex and gender are not related. And even if I stick to the way you're talking about this, I'm a biological being. I was born, and none of the traits that I had at birth necessarily by themselves would make me a man. Nor is anybody born with traits that would make them a woman. Man and woman are social constructs. And even our definition of sex is like, as we're going further and further along, more people have access to hormones, and we are becoming more aware of like some intersex people that are born with a variety of different chromosomes. Like, none of these arguments of how we traditionally define sex or understood it really seem to be providing like any more function, or they're not very useful anymore. I don't get why this is so frightening to people like you. You could easily just say, well, like, as far as you knew, there weren't a lot of trans people, but all of a sudden, because, you know, thanks to social media and us actually having a presence and trying to push to have our rights recognized, you are like, oh no, there's this like oppressed group of people. I better do everything that I can to fuck them over. I just don't understand why you're doing that. It's the computer crashing. There is just something going on with my computer. I don't know if I lost a few seconds of that. It's fine.
That's why Tucker Carlson responded to my declaration that a lot of what the left supports is satanic by mentioning the transgender issue.
Yeah, everyone that you don't like is satanic. Everything that fucking you disagree with is satanic. Trans people are satanic. No. So by your reasoning, we are satanic because we are pursuing our truth and wanting to live the lives of who we really are. But you've said it yourself before, like you were having like, you know, extramarital sex and everything else. It's like you were doing satanic things. So like, how many actions do you take that make you a Satanist, and how many acts do you take that make you like a Christian? I don't know. Such a incoherent like standards.
Here's my exchange with Carlson last night Take a listen for yourself. I see a lot of what's going on here and I'm just sorry, I'm a man of faith. I was raised in the church. This stuff is satanic. That's what's at the foundation of a lot of this stuff.
Well, I'm a pretty mild Protestant personally, but I completely agree with you, especially the gender stuff. When you say you can change.
Yeah, I'm a pretty mild Protestant myself, but immediately Tucker goes to trans people, especially the gender stuff. Like, fuck both of y'all.
Your own gender by wishing it, you're saying you're God. And that is satanic. I completely agree.
You're not, okay. First of all, you can't demonstrate God, that there are any gods, let alone like your specific personal God. And like whenever I think of people that are pious or that would be like godly men, or that I look at and say, you know what, this person is a very like devout believer. They are definitely like you know, living a life that I would think of as like a Christian life by my subjective interpretation. Fucking not Tucker Carlson. You gotta be out of your fucking mind. Tucker Carlson is a fucking leech. He's a like I would argue he's almost like sociopathic in his callousness. He doesn't give a fuck about other people. Like, I mean, all the things that Christians talk about, like, oh well, Christ taught this or Christ taught that. It seems like Tucker just like wouldn't give two fucks at all. Like Tucker would have sided with the Pharisees to fucking crucify Jesus. Get out of here. And this guy's like, oh, it's a good thing that Tucker agreed with me. Like, both of y'all are absolutely fucking disgusting for this.
All sin is satanic. I don't want to pick on people with gender dysphoria. Gluttony, it's satanic. You've seen me, you're looking at me now.
I don't want to pick on people that have gender dysphoria, but I'm going to shit on trans people. And now you're like, it's like, oh, now I'm going to go after fat people.
You know, I struggle with gluttony. My unhealthy eating habits are sinful. I don't support gluttony. It's wrong. It bothers me that the left is trying to normalize obesity. The singer Lizzo, she is not healthy. She's not sexy or happy with her weight. I'm not saying this to fat shame her or myself.
You are, but you are fat. You're not fat. All right, that's it. I'm done with this dumb fuck. All right, he's like, I'm not saying this to fat shamer. While he's literally fat shaming her. They like say, I'm not trying to be transphobic to somebody, but I'm going to sit here and misgender them and like, you know, fucking dead name them and that kind of shit. Like, you can't say I'm not trying to do this while you're fucking doing it. That would mean say, hey, I'm going to try not to use offensive language here that to some people that are like swear words or whatever, while I'm fucking using this language. Like, you are a massive fucking hypocrite. You are literally like, you're doing the behavior that you're saying that you're not going to do while you're actively doing the behavior. You're not even waiting like, I'm not going to, hey, I promise I'm not going to drink. Then later on tonight, you're like, wow, holy shit, Zoe, you're like really trash. And I'm over there just like, oh, no, and like slobbering myself, like fall out drunk, whatever. Now, I'll just say, I myself in my history, like have gotten like blackout drunk and shit like that. So like whenever I'm using alcohol as an example, it's not because I'm like trying to be a dick toward people that struggle with alcoholism. It's because I struggle with binge drinking myself. All right. So it's just the idea that, you know, substance use and sort of thing. How are you going to sit here? And it would be just as hypocritical of me to say like, I'm going to, you know, I'm not drinking anymore and I'm going to, you know, do better, whatever, while I'm sitting there actively drinking and telling you that. I'd be talking on both sides of my mouth. And that's what you've been doing this entire like fucking clip. I'm not going to watch your entire, like, I'm done with this dumb fuck. But I saw it on Twitter. I want to check it out. And after like watching his, I watched a little bit more of this and I thought about responding to it. But honestly, like, I think this is enough. This guy's ideology, the way that he phrased stuff, he's so fucking smug. And he doesn't like justify any of it. He goes on and talk about like Marxism and stuff like that. And it's just like, this guy is an absolute fucking joke. It's a disgrace that he has a podcast. And keep in mind, this man was on Tucker Carlson's show. You're talking the largest, not only conservative commentator, but he's the largest like figure in news. And this guy got to get on a platform that large to spread his odious opinions. And I just don't understand how someone can believe that they are being biblical when they can sit here and talk about like, oh, God's all about like, you know, forgiveness and, you know, the golden rule and everything else. Like, they forget about all of those portions of Jesus' teaching. And they only want to point back to like the Old Testament, to Deuteronomy, Leviticus, cherry pick the verses that they can use to attack people, or, you know, whatever their pet issue is, to justify their awful fucking opinions, while turning around and hypocritically engaging in some of the very behaviors that they are condemning other people for. I am never surprised. Not one fucking iota of me is like it's not remarkable at all. Anytime it's like, oh, some priest was caught in a sex scandal, or like a conservative, like a pious Christian commentator was arrested for like, you know, embezzling or anything like that. Like, these people, like, it's like they use their fucking posturing as a shield to be like, hopefully people will not, you know, think that, won't investigate too much into the things that they're saying, and they're like, oh, he's making so much sense, I should listen to him. And they're growing an audience of Christians that basically just want to fucking hear their bigoted thoughts repeated back from them, and this guy serves as the mouthpiece for their bigotry. That's why this guy and people like him have shows just to sit there and fucking hate on people. Anyway, go ahead and please like the video if you have not. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And as always, if you disagree with me, please leave a comment on why you disagree with me, or what you think I got wrong particularly. And I will see you in the next video.